I've got Michael Banks here with me this afternoon, and you probably can tell by the architecture in the background that Michael is not in Australia today. So thank you for joining us, Michael, for this little talk we're going to have. Thank you so much.
No problems. Thank you for having me.
All right. Now, let's just start, please, with how long you've been in business yourself.
Well, the current business, I think we registered it in 2012, but it really took, I don't think we actually traded until 2015. So it sort of took such a long time to, we had the idea as such, and then to get it registered and actually to get it set up in terms of the retail channels and the logistics. We didn't trade till about two years later, roughly, I think it was. So since 2012, we started it in Australia. Originally, it was just really a retail and wholesale business. So we specialise in hospitality type products. And then I guess since then we've grown from just wholesale and retail, and I've sort of taken it to the next level into more of a manufacturing and product design and development, where we supply, we've got sales in 11 countries now. So we work with manufacturers specifically in China. So we manufacture products in China and then basically export them around the world. So even though we're an Australian-based company, we do a lot of international business. We have separate, it's a bit like a conglomerate, but the businesses are technically separately run. So we've got a separate business in Rotterdam, in Holland, a separate business in the USA, a separate business in the United Kingdom. And they all sort of service their own local areas. And I guess from starting the business as well, we've moved from, it was actually, we moved from just doing our own products and we distribute other people's products. And we also, I think we've got about 9 brands of our own now that we've designed and developed over the years.
Would I recognise any of those, or would the?
We've got we specialise. The most popular items are for whipping cream. So we've got the Quick Whip brand. We had the Mr. Whip brand in the UK, and we've just moved into some other brands called Supreme Whip. We've also got one called Fresh Whip, and we've moved into some infusion products, which is so the infusion, it's moving away from their usual intended use, which is whipping cream, but they're actually used for food and flavour drink infusions. That's using the nitrous oxide gas, and it actually flavours the food instantly rather than having to marinate it for a couple of hours. You can instantly infuse the food, or whether it be a gravy or a sauce or cocktails. A lot of cocktail bars sell our products. So we've got quite a diverse range of what we do. So we kind of moved away from just selling the whipped cream products to restaurants, where we've moved into the bar and the cafe industry. And obviously we do supply a lot of type of pancake parlours or ice cream shops that sell whipped cream. So yeah, that's sort of one side of the business, and the other side would be more the business services. So not just we don't just sell people a product, we'll sell them I guess we do sell them the products, but what comes along with it is a full solution. So we'll give them the sales and marketing consultancy, the import and export consultancy, tax and duty consultancy, how to do it, how to do the logistics, how to set up the website, how to do the sales and marketing when it comes to social media, which is obviously the biggest thing for us really, or maybe Google advertising. And yeah, so we sort of give them the whole solution, including maybe the product design and development side of how to take their brand to the market, and then we make it for them. So it's kind of got all of that included in what we do. So we're kind of doing a full solution as such. But a lot of that they get for free.
All integrated, isn't it? It's all sort of connected and separate.
Hand in hand.
What label would we put on the business then if we were it's not just manufacturing, it's
we say product design and manufacturing, retail and wholesale distribution,
Yeah.
and consultancy services. So we've kind of moved into doing a lot of things within it.
Yeah, that's a
But
lot of hats to wear, Michael.
business never sleeps, and obviously because we've got the business now set up in 4 countries as such, the business runs 24/7. So when
Yeah.
America's awake, we're
Yeah.
asleep. So so it does get hard to manage. Like a normal working week for me would be about 90 hours at the moment. So so it's basically every second of
What?
every day you're working almost. Yeah, it's a huge amount of hours to do it as
Oh,
such.
I think that needs to be simplified. Otherwise, Michael's going to burn out to a frazzle pretty soon.
Yeah, it's just at the moment because we've gone through a state. We're still releasing 2 more websites, and we've released new products. So yeah, it sort of varies, but at the moment, it's sort of absolutely flat out. And then hopefully in the next couple of months, it will kind of go into that phase where we're embedding the new products, and we're at the moment it's gone through the big phase of design and development, product release, social media, marketing campaigns, and then hopefully it will taper off a little bit, but. There's never really much time you can put your feet up, because then we'll be on to the next thing, because you've always got to keep ahead of the market as such. So as we're releasing one product, we kind of need to be thinking a year ahead, what's going to be the next product, or what's the best brand name to use. And
makes sense. I suppose that my next question is not irrelevant, but it'd be hard to answer because you've just told me how diverse the business is, which is, who is your target market? Like, what's your ideal customer?
Yeah, we've got, like I said, we've got 2 sides of the business. So there'd be the retail side, and then the wholesaler manufacturing side. So the wholesalers would be hospitality type wholesalers, where we could supply large amounts of stock in pallet shipments, basically, and then they would supply the end customer, which would be the coffee shops and the restaurants.
So the Bidvest of the world and the like.
Yes, we haven't got into Bidvest yet, but that would be the ideal. But we are into some of the smaller, the smaller ones. But obviously, we distribute.
PFD. I was trying to get that out. Got confused with the document more than the wholesaler.
Yeah. So, and then I guess the retail side of things would be your end users. So the people that are at home and they're baking their own food, they're making their own cakes, they're making their own drinks. And actually, since the COVID has actually happened, our retail sales have gone up a lot, because the people are at home, they need things to do, and they're baking as such.
Yeah, I did an interview last week, I think it was, with an entrepreneur called Carissa Lake, and she's the cupcake princess.
Oh, I'd like to see if she wants any whipped cream.
Yeah, I'll happily connect you. She's in Sydney. And Carissa's big shift that she did in her business was selling cupcake kits, because people weren't coming into the shop front. She had to take the shop front to them. And she said the same thing. It was that whole, everyone's in love with baking, gives the family something to connect with, and everyone comes together and bakes. So go figure. Interesting. What's the impact that these crazy times, because I'm not going to give any air to the brand or the name that people are calling it, but what impact has this had on your business, other than you being in Bangkok?
Well, eventually, yes, obviously we were stuck overseas, and I mean, conveniently, we're stuck in Thailand. As you know, we're very lucky that my brother also works for the business as the operations manager. So we've basically set up a remote office, and then again, in terms of the business, we run it through an outsourced approach anyway. So we've got a outsourced office in the Philippines, where we've got admin staff, we've got the social media management, and answering some of the questions and things that come through the social media channels. So we've got that there. We've also got outsourced offices in New York and California for warehousing. But yeah, but back to the question of what's COVID actually had on us. It's initially, we obviously thought that if the bars and restaurants are going to be closing, it is going to take a massive chunk out of our sales. But that part of the wholesale may have almost stopped, but the retail side of it is incredibly busy. because obviously people are using it at home more. And we, in terms of the business strategy as well, we moved with the times and got into hand sanitizer and face masks and things. So even though we started that in February, we set up a separate company in Holland as well. So we actually, in the UK, we manufacture the product. So we buy it in 1,000-litre IBC containers, and then we get the bottles from China, and then we fill it ourselves and things like that. So that's in the UK. And then in Australia, we also got into the hand sanitizers by making our own brand, importing it from China. So we kind of tried to jump on board with that, because if the core part of our business, the sales were reducing, we'd make up sales and turnover with the hand sanitizer and the face mask. And obviously you could also use the resources that we've got in the warehouse, for example. So if the sales do drop off, they're still busy doing other things. So that's kind of how it's changed. I think the key thing for us as well, in America, we've been there for about 2 years. I spent a year in America trying to build the business there, and it was slow, it was hard, it was very difficult to break into the market, because once people have their say the customers are buying a product, the wholesalers are buying that product because the customer wants that product. They've got no need to change. They've been buying this product for 5 years, 10 years. They know what the product is. The price is okay for them. They've got no reason to change. But because of the COVID situation, it's actually had impacts on manufacturers' capabilities to produce the goods. It's created a shortage in the market. And as products have become unavailable in America, people have started to look for other options. So that's where we've picked up a lot of more business, because we're very, very on the front foot in terms of marketing. So we do a lot of social media marketing, a lot of Google advertising. We've set the websites up. So we were kind of in a good position there to capture all this new business, which we've been getting, and our sales there have been up, 900% month on month for the last 3 months. So
that's fantastic to hear.
It almost got to the point where it was slowly growing organically. We did a real push for it for about a year when I was actually living in Santa Monica there for a year on and off. And it was kind of getting to the point where, it's almost too hard. We'll just stay with the retail sales. But yeah, because of this COVID, we've got so much more business through wholesale. Like, we're out of stock now. I just can't keep up with it. So it's actually been a real benefit as such for the business.
Yeah, I think the whole winners and losers, right? There's always going to be some. And I think that loyalty is up for grabs.
Yeah.
So you just laid that out perfectly, Michael, because the tradition, I just did this, that's up for grabs. Now it's up to you to make sure that as soon as the other guy gets stock back, that they just don't dump you back for him. And if they do, fair enough, like you've had the opportunity and the profit, and maybe it does and maybe it doesn't. But there's new rules. There's totally new rules. Loyalty is the place that you used to buy your coffee on the way to work. If someone else gives you a compelling offer, you're okay to change, or a dry cleaner, or a supermarket, or whatever it is. Your favourite bar. If someone gives you a compelling offer to change, right now you go, okay, I'll give it a go.
Because even normally on this type of business, the pricing is critical. So a lot of people will just go for the cheaper option. But you need to be able to offer them the other benefits as well, not just in the cheaper price, but stock availability, for example. So if we've got the available stock, we're giving them a better service as well, which is kind of how we're trying to help them. But there is a bit of a worldwide shortage at the moment due to COVID and the manufacturer's capability. So we are kind of in almost the same boat as everybody else, where we are struggling for stock, and also we have to try and allocate that across several countries. So it kind of gets a little bit harder as well.
Yeah. Try not to play favourites. So, like if you were selling into any of the big chain retailers, you're right. Price is important, but don't sit in front of me if you can't guarantee the supply of whatever I want to order.
Yes, yeah.
Otherwise, you're just wasting my time. So it's really interesting. Congratulations, mate, to be in a position to capitalise. So what you told us about hand sanitizer and this move into America. So what were the one or two actions that you have taken, or you probably described them in that last conversation?
Yeah, so I guess
Was there any others? Yeah.
Yeah, the action to the COVID really has just been moving with the market. You find that the demand was for PPE gear and the hand sanitizer. Hand sanitizer was a bit easier than the PPE gear to manage. But I think some of the critical errors that we've made as such is jumping in very quickly into a new business, but not fully understanding the compliance behind it. So especially when you're talking about selling products in Australia, Australians very strict on the certification and such. So whether you've got you've got your CE certificate, you've got your MSDS, you've got your FDA approval to sell.
Yep.
Australia's got their own requirements, such as the TGA, which is the Therapeutic Goods of Australia, and they sort of govern as such that your product meets that requirement, which ours doesn't, you see. So that means once we'd imported it, then you realise you can't sell it to doctors and you can't sell it to medical professionals, so it limits your sales ability. So that was one issue, I guess, in what we were doing, which we found out. And the other would be anticipating how quickly the market will change, so that everybody's jumping out saying we need hand sanitizer, we need hand sanitizer. People are buying it from the shelves in Coles and Woolies, and they're selling it for an astronomical price. The pricing we do was actually cheaper than what it would be normally. But because of the market, by the time we've made a brand, we've managed to source it from a manufacturer, we've shipped it from China, that time that time would probably be 5 weeks. The stuff to the UK are going to be about 6 weeks. And actually, by the time you've actually done all that, the market's changed again, and it's almost moved into oversupply because there's so many people doing it. So we've kind of got into the stuff where we thought we'd acted quick enough to move into another market, but we've ended up with, we are still sitting on about 30 pallets of this stuff. So it's we've tried to react quick enough, but the market's changed. So
it might change back again too. You probably got a lot of sales in Victoria.
With the second wave coming, hopefully it'll change back. So if anybody needs any hand sanitizer, hit me up.
Well, I'm going to be making sure I put your contact details, because I do know retailers in Victoria were buying stock from a lot of different locations that traditionally you wouldn't have dealt with, but they wanted to meet the needs of the customers. My last question for you, Michael, is a big one. So it's just not relevant to COVID and even this year, but what mistakes would you have made along your entrepreneurial journey? And part two to that, they say wise people learn from smart people learn from the mistakes, but wise people learn from others' mistakes. So what mistakes would you have made along your entrepreneurial journey?
Like I say, the biggest one recently as such would be not anticipating how quickly the market can change and buying too much stock. So anticipating the market changes, and I guess cash flow as well. Cash flow is always the biggest. Yeah, it's always the biggest problem is the cash flow when you're starting out, and it's that's very difficult to manage. So there can be times there where you make a mistake of almost ordering too much, but not you need to sort of factor in delays, shipping delays. I'm talking when we're ordering from the manufacturer, a ship might get delayed at the dispatch, and then when you're importing it, maybe it's delayed another week, and then you're stuck without money for 2 or 3 weeks. So I think it's just about building in enough buffer of a cash flow to support your business to manage it through delays in terms of stock.
Okay. Along your journey, was the availability of finance tough? Being that you'd only been in business 2012, trading 2014, was that a challenge to fund the growth?
It has been, yeah. We've actually done incredibly well. We started really from a seed investment of about £50,000, and then we've kind of like turned it
Yep.
around, bought some more stock, and slowly built it from one or
Yep.
two containers a month. You know, July, August, we're up to 22 containers a month. So it's a huge amount of stock that we have floating around at any one time. In terms of finance, we were quite lucky that I've had my uncle that's been able to chip in occasionally for one or two containers just to bridge the gap. At the moment as well, I don't know whether you've seen some of the banks are doing unsecured business loans, which has been a big help as well. So that they'll lend $250,000 unsecured to help get through the COVID. So if anyone is looking for extra cash flow, it is easy to get it from the bank at the moment. So so it has been hard in terms of the cash flow, but to help with that as well, you can obviously negotiate better terms with the factory. So obviously as we've worked with them over the years, they're a bit more lenient in terms of the cash flow, where before we might have to pay 100% up front before the container leaves the factory. Yep. Now we're just paying a 10-20% deposit and the rest before arrival. So I guess it's not just about, that's part of the cash flow. So I guess my advice would be, look at the cash flow like that, but negotiate with your suppliers for better trading terms.
And if it doesn't stack up, walk away or back yourself and go for it.
Yeah, I think business is all about taking risks. So I guess it's a case of a calculated risk as well. So I guess you look at, it's not just about, I don't just look at the positives when I'm doing it. I guess I'll be looking at the negatives as well. So worst case scenario. So when we did something, would it
bring the company down?
Yeah, would it
still bring our company down?
Exactly. So when we're doing something, it'll be a calculated risk. So now the business has got bigger and bigger and bigger. We can take more risks, but again, there'd be calculated risks. So we wouldn't do something that we could lose $1 million on because it'd cripple us. But if we did something that maybe 100, 200,000, we could manage it. So
wouldn't be nice, but you could survive.
It wouldn't be nice, but we have taken hits like that. Last year we did something, a couple of 100,000 and hit in terms of investments as such with the business. But I think it's a lot easier to invest in stock that you can sell than put your money into stocks and shares that are a bit difficult, harder. So yeah.
Well, it's tangible, and you're right. Someone will buy it at some price, maybe not the right price that you'd like, but it's
correctly.
Still
So if you
into cash
for $100, and your worst case you could take a hit and you can sell it for $50, then so it's kind of like weighing it up and taking calculated risks.
Yeah, that sounds good. Well, look, there's that's really gold what you've just shared with us. Then it's back yourself, do it with a calculated risk. Sometimes you're going to have to take a hit, but you got to invest.
Yeah, and preferably have a family member that can always chip in a little bit if needed.
I don't think, not many of us are in that position, Michael. So look after that family member. Make sure they're on your Christmas card list and regularly. Regularly. But thank you so much for your time. It's very, very generous. The reason I ask you, and I've asked a lot of people for their time, is if somebody at all has just listened to this talk we've had with Michael, and it changes the direction that you're on or encourages you to do something. So that's the difference between working for a corporate like I used to, where it was a scarcity mindset. You just never shared anything with anybody, even in another division, because it's a competition. But when we're in business for ourselves, the abundance of, I'm sure that anyone knows they can ring me up and I'll just give you everything I've got. And I'm sure that happens for most people. There's an abundance in entrepreneurs, which is why they're that's why it all started with entrepreneurs. And I think there's a place for big corporate, but there will always be entrepreneurs because we have a different mindset, and it's the right mindset.
Yeah, and I think as the world's changing as such to be more online, anybody can start a side business, have a bit of a hustle on the side, from an office in their bedroom, and it's something that you can do after hours and at the weekend, and continue to do your other job. So that was so I guess that would be advice I'd give as well, because I did 2 jobs for at least 2 years. So I obviously worked at TIO and Allianz Insurance for 5 or 6 years as a project manager and business analyst. I think I met you in Darwin at that time as well. But
That's right.
I was running, and I've been running this business on the side for, it was at least 2 to 3 years until it got to the point where I could, just about cover my own wages as such compared to what I'll be earning working in the big corporate world. So yeah, so it's like if you want to start your own business, I wouldn't rush straight in to do it. You want to be, make sure you've got income and cash flow for yourself before you start working on the business. And also don't underestimate the time it takes to get your business up and running, because really it's 2 to 3 years from what I found in America, what I found in Europe, what I found in Australia. It'll be 2 to 3 years, and within that 2 to 3 years, I didn't take anything out of that business. I was, it was at least 2 to 3 years. I didn't take anything out. It was constantly, all the money was going back into the business, to grow it. So yeah, you've got to be very disciplined, and not spend, what I mean, not having big entertainment and corporate days and spending too much money that way. But it's hard, to grow the business like that.
Yeah, but what I always teach and try to instill into business owners that ultimately you're building something that works without you. If you're tied to it, you've actually got a job. You don't have a business.
Yeah.
If it's completely dependent upon you to turn up, otherwise nothing's going to happen or little will happen, you have a job. But and I think it's okay to have a job. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But you've got to be working towards, I don't need to turn up today, or I don't need to turn up every day.
I'm trying to get to that position at the moment, but it's hard. I think with the business
goal, Michael, if that's your goal, you'll get there.
Eventually, but I think obviously when the business is kind of like what you're doing in terms of your skills and abilities, it's almost hard to give some of that to somebody else, because you'd spend more time managing them as such. But I mean, it will get to the point, you're right, where you'll have to put a proper team together. But I mean, I'm quite lucky. I've got business partners that do a lot of work in Europe. I've got my brother as well that can focus on things. But I'd love to get to that position where.
Look, I've no doubt you will, but it isn't hard. The hardness is between these two things here. That's the only hardness, because good people are good people, and they're out there. And like it spoke about opportunities for sales. There's opportunities for good people now as well. That were never available before.
What we found as well is that it's hard to find the right people, and especially the business we do, you need to have a lot of trust involved, because once somebody gets in and can see what you're doing, it's very easy for them to do it themselves. So that's why we kind of employ family members or best friends from college and things like that. So
there is a way to there's a better way to find that quality of staff or team, or whatever the label. There is a better way, and that which is all about putting in hurdles before people have got to jump through hurdles to work for you, so that when you are meeting with somebody, they, please, Mike, can I come? Please, can I come? It's like, that's the utopia, and it's achievable at a high level if you're employing a GM, or you're employing a carpenter. It's just the principles of putting hurdles in to test that trust. So if you're not prepared to go from that hurdle to that hurdle, well, you can't trust them. If they can't follow an instruction that you leave them, please do this, tell me that, and I'll call you back if I want to. If they can't do that, you can't trust them. So we filter out people before you even get to the you. and that way you get a better quality of applicant who wants to work with you. But yeah, all in good time, mate. All in good time.
We'll get there.
You bloody oath will. I can't thank you enough, mate. Happy